I need to know what you mean, but I constantly fail when using your tools. I need tools that facilitate success for me. Things like what facilitates time. Oh, that's a big issue, this time thing. How long is time? It's a very difficult one. My sense of timing, as well as the pace and the medium I need to take my time, are very different. All of these can be explained through the use of IT. Absolutely. Have you heard of the we? Yes. Yeah. So that's a brilliant medium for teaching things, even like personal space, turn taking. If a kid's really interested and they'll join in with using the game, like the we, then they're also, almost as a sideline, are actually learning the social things that you want them to, whilst they're enjoying themselves. And that's a much better way to go, I think. And I'm likely to experience success, which contributes to things like self-esteem, which builds confidence, validation. If I feel valued, I'm actually much more likely to value you, and inclusion. So this builds a sense of control over my life, which means I don't have to fight you all the time for control. Inclusion says I'm included just the way I am. Unlike integration, which says I'm only acceptable if I merge into otherness and lose my sense of self. It's a bit like all those individual spuds becoming mashed potato. I love mashed potato, but you certainly lose your individual sense of self, don't you? Go on, say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, I need to know that we are separate. For years and years I didn't know that you did not know my thoughts. I believed if I thought it, you knew it, as in mum, dad, sisters, brother, and others. And I'd get very cross and upset if things didn't happen. I really believed if I thought it, you must know it. If I don't know what's coming next, how can I cope with things like change? I can't. I'm going to resist them. So show me what's expected. Less need to fight for control. Social stories, role play, coloured coding, diaries, support to check in, all help with learning. And iPads and Protocol to go are helpful too. So I want to actually show you all these things. I want to show you the kids using the iPad with the actual software Protocol to go. So I better stop with some of this. This is pretty obvious, and I'm very happy to email the presentation if you'd like it. It's pretty obvious to get things available to help make sense of stuff. It's pretty obvious that videoing things, you know, you can watch a DVD, you can stop it, rewind, watch it over and over again, so that you actually can see which bit's supposed to happen where and when and how often and so on. So taking video footage of conversations, of personal hygiene, except it's got to be the sort of personal hygiene you're allowed to take footage of, all right? The processes of getting dressed, the processes of brushing teeth, the processes of haircuts and nail cuts and eating, all the sorts of things you do every day that you hardly think about. Putting that on video form is really useful for so many of us on the autistic spectrum. So I'll get right through all that. It's pretty useful, and I should just show you this one. Email packages from Spectronics for kids who perhaps don't use language. All right, how many of you don't use email? One, just a couple of you. Okay. Email is so useful in the world of autism, but for kids who don't write, who may not actually use language, you know, you can get a picture-based, non-text-based email package. The great thing is that you can slow everything down with email. You can put together an understanding, a story, a question, a query, a complaint or whatever, so I don't have to hit you, I can send you an email. It gets me into less trouble, doesn't it? And I can actually spend time on this. I got time to review it, time to process it. Everything in everyday life, especially conversation, is so fast-paced in the typical world, so slowing it down is very useful. All right, Wendy. Okay, all these things are very, very important. These are strengths. These are things that people do. Have you heard of autism alert cards? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, they're very useful, but if I'm tipped over the edge, I can't access it. I was on a train going to Manchester in the UK last year, and I had my ticket with the seat number on and everything. Someone had organised to see me onto the train. Somebody else was meeting me off the other end, so it all looked safe. But the train was packed, and when I got to where I was supposed to be seated, somebody else was in my seat. So I didn't know what to do. I was standing there, I was having a bit of a meltdown, and there was a fellow with a little kid in the corridor, in the walkway between the seats, and I really didn't see him that well, and I nearly walked out, into him. And I suppose that this guy was the little person's father, and he started to really call me all sorts of names I'm not allowed to repeat in public. He was very, very cross with me. And I remember thinking, well, if you're so worried about this little person, why don't you pick him up? I mean, why leave him on the floor to be mowed over by other adults coming past? Isn't that a strange thing to do? There's no way I would have left a little 16, 17 months old little kid. I would have picked him up. Anyway, so I was having a very bad time. And my autism alert card was in my pocket. And it says, it's got my name, Wendy Lawson, I am autistic, and it's got who to contact if there's any problems, and a few little bits of information about autism. But when I'm in that meltdown, can I reach in? No, none of that's available. That would require a brain that divides attention, that would think now and then think ahead. Very hard to do in autism. So I couldn't, but fortunately for me there was a young person, I reckon he's only about 19, sitting in a seat opposite. He looked at me and he said, "Come and sit here." Sit. What would have happened if he'd said, "Would you like to sit here?" Well, how do I know if I would like to sit there? I've never done it. I have no idea if I'd like it or not. So that would not have been a good way to talk to me. But that's how you talk to each other. You're being very polite, aren't you? And in autism, that kind of thing presents problems. Would you like to come in? Yes, as you wait outside. What you mean is, come in, please. Would you like to hang your coat up here? I don't know, might do. You mean hang your coat here? People are very polite, aren't they? In autism, that politeness sometimes is those words that fall away, and I miss the point. Anyway, okay. Just resources. Happy to send this to you. And let me show you this DVD. You know how sometimes on YouTube they've got different short video clips of things? You know how you can grab bits and pieces and put them together if you've got a grabbing tool? So this is just bits of grabbed videos, so there's no explanation. But hopefully it will make sense as you watch it. And it might be you've seen some of this before. What's the volume like? We haven't tested it, so we don't know. Let's see if we can hear that. It's plugged in, but I don't know if it's switched on.